Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome on Youth Matters. This is your host Sakina Habib. How are you all? I hope you're all keeping in good health, inshallah. And I'm very excited to bring in a very good brand new topic to on today's program, which is very relevant and very timely. I'm sure that all of you are going to pretty much resonate on this topic. So let's talk about how AI is taking over classrooms and cubicles today. And this is something that really should be a matter of concern, as well as a lot that needs to be researched upon. Here's the wealthy secret. By 2034, your 9 to 5 job will be extinct. That's right. It shouldn't be something surprising. That's Reid Hoffman's latest prediction. He built LinkedIn in 2002. He predicted social media in 1997. He was early in PayPal, Airbnb, and OpenAI. And here's what he says is going to happen next and how to survive it. Reid Hoffman isn't just another tech prophet, he is the co founder of LinkedIn. He sold it for $26 billion to Microsoft, led early investments in Facebook, Airbnb, OpenAI, and he also predicted internet social shifts decades before they happened. When he talks about the future, smart people listen. By 2034, AI could handle 25 to 30% of current human tasks. Not the 80 to 90% some wildly predict, but enough to create significant shifts. Jobs won't vanish overnight, but they'll evolve at different speeds across industries. So here's what's already happening, right? The tremors are very much visible. For example, we see junior analysts getting replaced by ChatGPT workflows. There's something called as GitHub Copilot that manages entire code bases. Legal research is done by AI within minutes and not hours, and this is something that I also see on a daily basis. So this isn't the future. This is, today. This is what we're talking about. Already we are in it. For 100 years, security meant a steady paycheck. But tomorrow, security comes from skill fluidity. The ability to pivot faster than AI reshapes your industry. And to be very honest, most people are not ready for this shift. What I'm trying to say is that AI won't just change jobs, but it will change even the economics. For example, education gets personalized, manufacturing grows more efficient, healthcare becomes more accessible, but costs won't drop to zero like some predict. Physical reality still has limits. So today we're going to be discussing about actually like how AI matters, and how things are going to change over time. How is it going to replace education in classrooms? How is it going to change your friend circles? And what do we need to do to basically survive in this era of AI? So without much further ado, I'd like to welcome my guests on board. I have with me today Sister Nishat Fatima Jafri and Sister Salwa Habib, and we'll be having a very light-hearted, casual conversation on this. Both of them are, of course, students as well. So, without much further ado, I would like to welcome them. Assalamu alaikum. How are you, Nishat and Salwa? I hope you're both keeping in good health. Thank you so much for joining me on Youth Matters.
Alaikum salam. I'm doing
Assalam.
good.
Doing good, alhamdulillah.
So, yeah, Alhamdulillah. I'm glad that both of you have joined me on today's program. And the title is very, what do you say, interesting. It's something that a lot of people are really researching into. And, this is like the new ongoing thing. Because even when I open my scroll and my feed, this is something that's like popping up too much. And I don't know that whether I should like really become anxious about it, or I should really start learning more new things, start to keep myself more updated on these areas. or whether it has like more cons to it rather than pros. Yeah, so there's a lot more that's going on. So I'll first like to start with Nishat. Nishat, tell me, according to you, I'm sure that you are also like as a student, you're studying in university and everything. I'm sure you're seeing a lot of changes that are already happening within your classroom when you're studying and everything. So is it true that AI is soon going to take over the education, the way we've always studied it, the structured form of education? What do you think?
In my opinion, it has changed a lot of things. For example, like how teachers would plan lessons on their own. Now, a lot of teachers may use AI to plan lessons, and like AI can be very useful in a lot of cases. For example, you need to find out anything, you can just ask AI or find out all the web pages for you, or tell you all its links and everything. But there is also the downside of where people have started using it all the time, or more so started relying on it, because using AI as a tool is okay in my opinion, but using it as something for it to do all your work for you, or for it to as in take over, like we many people don't use their brains as much anymore, and I feel like that really mentally like stops you from growth.
Absolutely. Yes, I agree too. Yeah, absolutely. We don't want to like become very much dependent and like relying on it, right? As if, we won't be able to like manage our lives the way so many people have done it before us. And we don't want to completely become cognitively sedentary as well. Yeah. So that's a
Yeah.
very good point that you've mentioned. Yeah. What about you, Salwa? What would you say? Do you see AI taking over jobs, according to you?
Yeah, I think I agree with what Mr. Nishat said earlier as well. And yeah, I believe that AI has already taken over a lot of aspects of life, from education to, I think, a lot of jobs as well. There's a lot of restaurants nowadays that whereby instead of like waiters, there's like a little like robot that gives you your food and everything. I've
Have
personally
you
seen
seen
that
that?
myself. Yeah,
Have you
I've
seen?
seen
Okay,
that.
you have. You have. Okay, that's nice.
Seen that
Cool.
myself in a restaurant back home in Jeddah in Saudi. And this was a few years back that I saw it actually. So now, like now, it must be, and I'm pretty sure, like in East Asian countries. Obviously, I haven't been to any East Asian country yet, but in East Asian countries, it's very common. Um, like Korea, Japan, China. These countries are already using all of these kind of things. So like waiters have almost lost their jobs now, and everything else is also kind of following suit. So
Yes.
as Sister Nishat said, there's pros and there's cons, and I think when it comes to like the perspective of like jobs, like with that aspect, I think that we are kind of way beyond like talking about the pros and cons of AI. I think uh, we should just be prepared and enhance our skills, because I don't know whether we like it or not. This is the world now, and if we want to like be secure in our jobs, and I think it is highly necessary for us to enhance our skills in this field, um, because I mean it is what it is.
This is what it is. Exactly. I like it how you said. So
It is what
actually, you're right about the robot thing. I remember a couple of years back, I had seen that as well. But what really sort of frustrated me was my patience level, because it would like come at its own slow speed. and and then there are like certain specific instructions that it would take. It's not a human, obviously. Like when you're giving
exactly.
orders, you can tell the person like, I want it to be this way, like if I want extra cheese, if I want like extra mutton or something. but like this person already, I mean, this in this, what do you say, robot, this machine,
Yeah.
obviously has all these specific instructions, and so it can't understand sometimes, and it will take its sweet time, revolving around the restaurant, which was,
Yeah.
I found it pretty annoying, to be honest. So, Nishad, what would you say about this? Yeah, what do you
I
want to
mean,
add?
this morning, just like a little while ago, I was reading this newspaper of the Financial Times, and its headline is literally about China's robots and how they had a big race recently, and they've done it before where they've had 12. It's for 12,000 humans are running a race, but they added like a couple robots in it as well. Whereas before, because they're always testing out the new abilities and how well they've gotten, but this time the robots, some of them actually won, beating humans by more than 10 minutes. And I was thinking, like, what is like the point of this, like, why does a robot need to do that? It makes you just like, what
It
is
makes you
the
question.
what is yeah, it makes you question, like, what is the point? What is this helping us with?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Good point. I sometimes wonder the same, like, how is it helping? Is it just because it's so cool to have a
Yeah.
robot moving around? Or do you
Yeah,
know,
but
like,
um,
yeah,
sorry, just to cut you
yeah,
in.
so,
I think especially even in home, within the home as well, like home appliances, there's those little cleaners that those little
Or the
robots,
little
the circular
vacuum. Yeah.
the
yeah, yeah, yeah,
circular
yeah, yeah.
cleaner that cleans up for you. And then the other day I was looking at some roti maker, some robotic roti maker that actually, like, you just
Nice.
insert
Yeah,
flour, whatever instructions, and it's
Oh
just
my
gonna,
gosh.
so like these things are like even in like taking over like houses, kitchens, which people can say is very useful because people don't have to do that kind of labor anymore. But yeah, definitely slowly it's creeping in. And in a lot of these East Asian dramas that I watched, the Korean shows and stuff, they even have an AI rice cooker. They've got
yeah,
this machine, this rice. They just add like raw rice in it, and it just kind of like it's different from an instant pot because it's actually a robot. So yeah,
yeah.
it's yeah,
Yeah, you see now what's happening over here is that we're losing that actual essence, the flavor of the food. Like the way we hear our mothers and our grandmothers when they used to cook food with their hands, and especially, in like, I would say rural cities, rural, but then at the same time also within our homes, that always had a very flavorful taste to it, for example. And when machines start coming in between, I feel that it doesn't, give that same
yeah,
aroma or same vibe, I don't know, whatever to call it. So I feel like everything has a pro and con, in the sense that, okay, because life is very fast in the UK, and in the developed countries, like Salwa, I'm sure you would agree, you are now in the UK, so you would also agree with this fact that everything needs to be done very quickly, and so these appliances sort of make your life easier, because now
yeah,
the cleaning gets easier, the cooking gets easier, and you can also juggle other things externally. So I'm sure that that's also something that we can add on to. But then at the same time, relying on it completely is, I feel, not good as well. I have watched some funny videos. Those sometimes these funny candid videos come where the parents put their babies on this vacuum, the round vacuum, what do you
mhm,
say, cleaner, just so that the child can roam around and have a tour in the house. And that's really hilarious, like how people start making you misuse of something which
Yeah.
is so risky, of course. So I've seen these kind of videos, and it just makes me laugh sometimes. But yeah, that's how life is. So I also want to ask, how what are some of the signs uh, that we are seeing right now, as of now, that how do you think AI is going to replace our cognitive skills, when it comes to like memory power, for example, when it comes to our writing power, when it comes to our thinking, critical thinking, problem solving power? How do you think that's going to have an effect? Nishat?
I think it would have more of a negative impact because once you're relying on something else to do your thinking for you, you don't use your brain as much. And so I feel like AI has actually dumbed down a lot of
Yeah.
people, like because we're not using our own brain to figure things out. And so you're just relying on something else. And then it doesn't encourage you to grow that way. And then you never really learn how to do things. Like, even if you're talking about like the roti maker, for example, like if people start using that, if it became like a completely normal thing to have, every household has it, people would forget how to make it themselves. And then if a day comes where it's, because nothing is going to stay permanently, and if a day comes where you don't have the AI and you're in a situation where you have to make a big decision, or you have to make, you have to do something that's, I don't know, positive for yourself, and you don't know what to do, then, and you'll be stuck not knowing, oh, how do I overcome this, or how do I fight this, how do I, what decision do I make, and you'll, you won't really know what to do. And I think that's like, that's a big problem because
Yeah.
that's how we
Yeah.
grow.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with you on that as well. As you said, that sometimes it really makes you dumb. The reason is that you stop using your own uh, memory power, your brain power,
Yeah.
which is very important. However, I'd like to add over here is that it's important to have those fundamental skills that you've been taught from a very long time, or you've been trained. But now, what we have to do is we have to balance it out in the sense that we
Yeah,
also make the use of AI in areas where we know that it can help us. For example, if you want a layout for a situation, or if you want a strategy, a tip or something, then you can obviously ask these kind of apps. But at the same time, we don't want to like believe it completely. We have our brains, and we have our emotional intelligence to it, so we can make good decisions as to what, if that's right or wrong. And I was also reading the other day that it's also how we type in the question. For example, if my child is sick and they're experiencing a flu or cough, and if I do write some, if for example my child is sneezing twice or thrice, and if I ask ChatGPT that is it normal if my child is sneezing 3 to 4 times in a row, the question itself is giving comfort and a yes to ChatGPT to give me a comforting answer. So it would say yes, it is normal. Okay, but if we would type the question as to a 4 month or a 5 month old child is experiencing symptoms of a stuffy nose, nasal congestion, and continuous sneezing or coughing, what is the solution to this, then it will give you a more informative and a more descriptive answer, and it will like guide you with steps as to, okay, whether it is actually normal and what can we do to prevent it. So it also depends, it's basically on how you tend to adapt to AI. So the war right now is that AI is there, but it's the question is that everybody's going to have AI, of course, in their hands, right? It's that who knows how to figure it out the best way, who is more compatible with AI in the best ways, who can figure things out, who can be able to master it. So that is a different whole story to it. And I know that there are now certain courses that are being introduced related to AI, which I'm also looking very pretty much interested to learn, to take it as an upcoming thing. So that's something that I've added to my list. I hope that I'll be able to do it. But yeah, I would recommend that it's very good to basically, to learn and to master it. Okay, let's move on to another talk, which is that, most students are now relying on AI apps for their homeworks, right? And I remember, and I'm sure you would also say this, when remember we used to make these work on thesis, on our research thesis, and our courseworks, we used to literally cite references, and there was a certain way of doing it. Okay, I think that I don't know if it still exists. If you, I don't know, Nishat and Salwa, if you guys are still doing it or not, because right now what's happening is that everything is available on AI Perplexity or Gemini or Claude or whatever, these kind of things. So people are just like copy pasting, right? And there's hardly a chance then to even figure out the plagiarism part, which I remember used to be detected by one of the apps during our university time. So how do you see that, Salwa? First, tell me, and then I'll move on to Nishat.
So I graduated just recently in 2024. And honestly, I would say that I don't think that has changed very much. That we, while yes, for their research, I feel like students are using ChatGPT a lot for their research. But when it comes to citations, I think people are still, well, at least like when I graduated, when I was doing my thesis, I think people are still very much, trying to find accurate citations from scholarly sites. And the whole plagiarism thing is still very much a thing. And yeah, there is like a certain app that like the universities like have to, and yeah, it used to be like everyone's fear. So I think that is something that is still like very much there. However, the research process, definitely a lot of students are definitely using AI and ChatGPT to help them with the research part of the thesis. That, at least from what I saw, that's how it was. And yeah, it's only 2 years, so I don't know how much can change in 2 years and what's happening in universities right now. Maybe Nishat can tell us better about that. But this
Nishat,
is from two
yeah,
years
yeah,
ago.
yeah. Nishad, I'd like to ask you, does your teacher get upset in the class that, oh, I'm putting in so much effort and, these students come and copy paste and, I'm getting fed up of AI. It's really like brain rotting the minds of many. Are you seeing this or?
Honestly, I would say it's a bit of a mix because there's like I feel like there's many students who are also against it because of how ethically wrong it can be to use AI as well, because it has lots of other impacts other than just on the person using it. But there's a lot of teachers who have started using AI as well, and that's where I think where it's kind of like gets a bit tricky to manage, because if the teacher's using it and they don't want the students to use it, it's a bit of a contradiction. And people aren't really going to listen to it too much. I think more old traditional teachers are still very against it. But I think the biggest issue with like plagiarism now, whereas before it was obvious if something is a bit plagiarized, but now it's like, AI has a specific way of writing, like using those dashes and using specific words or the way it's written. I feel like because when I was in sixth form, I knew a friend who was doing business studies and she wrote all of her coursework by herself. Except her teacher, even using the AI checking tool that they used, it kept saying that it was AI. Now, I knew that she didn't use AI because she would do it, and like we would be next to each other doing our work. And so it got really tricky for her to she had to rewrite it around 3 times because the teacher kept saying that no, it seems very AI. It seems like you've just, gotten Chat GPT to write it for you. But it's not her fault that she just wrote in that way, that it seems like it's from AI, but it wasn't actually AI. With the plagiarism, it's gotten a bit harder for students, I think. But for citations, yeah, you still have to like know the original source and still write where you actually got it from.
Good point that you've added. Okay, so I was actually reading. There was a caption that I was reading, and I want to know if you guys agree with it or disagree. It said that Gen Z needs a degree, internships, and a side hustle just to get a minimum wage job. What do you think? Is this true? Like back in the days, during our parents' time, during our grandparents, so like they, went, studied, graduated, and then they instantly also got a job, and they were able to manage their house and everything with car and company bonus and traveling and everything. But now everything seems really difficult. I feel like the market is getting densely populated with competition, competitiveness, and it's like every day, you just need to like add so many skills to yourself, so many talents, education, everything, and you just have to like go far and beyond. It becomes too much. So I'll start with Salwa again. That do you think the bar has shifted from a simple handshake to a comprehensive portfolio that looks more like a mid-career resume? And what do you think? How do you see this?
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. I think things have become um well, I don't know if I should say they've become a lot harder because I think every era has its own difficulties. I think even in our parents' generation, it's not they were dealing with you know escaping escaping wars and starting from
I
scratch
would also say
in different
trauma
countries.
dumping. They faced a lot of traumas, the poor them,
Yeah,
and then they
yeah, yeah,
never seeked therapy. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. And like starting over. Most of our parents like started over from scratch with nothing but a handbag in new countries, like as immigration, they really had the immigrant experience, they went through the new immigrant experience, which is something that we aren't going through as much in today's era, because we aren't really starting from scratch anywhere the way they did, so they had their own struggles, and the struggles for us are, yes, according to, in terms of like jobs and all of these things, but that's because the world has advanced. As I said, the world has advanced to a point whereby technology has taken the forefront, and some of us are still relying on skills which are not really technology based, and probably that's the reason why we are facing issue in the job market, and also because the job market is heavily reliant on technology now, and as we said, AI is taking over, robots are kind of like taking over. So that's the struggle that we're facing. You know. Um,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's a good point that you've mentioned. Also, I was reading the other day something very interesting that said that it said that Gen Z grew up with the internet. Gen Alpha grew up with tablets. Generation Beta is born between 2025 and 2039. So Beta is very different. Why? Because AI is already built into every process they'll ever touch. So
mm,
education, medicine, transport, communication, for them, ignoring AI, okay, will actually feel as strange as refusing to use electricity. So yes, as you said, Salwa, that every generation has their own challenges, and I feel that the upcoming generation is going to have their own new challenges, and they'll have to figure things out by themselves. In fact, I was reading that in like 5 years time, there will not exist something like a degree, because it says here that it says McKinsey projects that by 2035, 40 to 60% of current professions will either disappear or change beyond recognition. So why spend 5 years on a degree that's outdated by graduation? Imagine, this is what I'm reading from a research over here, and it says education is actually shifting to a modular system, meaning like short courses, skill portfolios, and real projects. So the upcoming generation will learn in months, not even years, and for specific tasks, not for a certificate on the wall. And also the office as a format is going to die permanently, because the upcoming generation will grow up in a world where workplace means a set of tools and connections, not a building. And it also added that these people will now be called the AI natives. So you see the way we are learning AI, it's different because we are still trying to adapt around it. But like the upcoming generation, is eventually going to become AI native, because they are going to be like born with it. They're going to be, living with it. They're going to be seeing gadgets in front of them, and so these kind of things will actually be very normal to them. Anyhow, I just want to ask you that how do you think can we balance this thing, Nishat? What would you say? How can we balance AI and education, and our work as well, without having to compromise either of the both?
I think it's like the solution itself for this is quite simple, but it's not easy to do. But AI, in a way, to not put your whole dependence on it in education, for example, I feel like you can use it as a tool. So, using it to get ideas, using it for research or to figure some stuff out. But then when it comes to actually doing your work, like for example, you want to write an essay and you're struggling on starting it. So, say you could ask AI to give you some simple starter sentences, but then you only use that, write it in your own words, and continue the rest by yourself. You don't just tell AI, write my whole essay for me, because that would not do anything for you. It wouldn't. What's the point of getting the education if you're not going to learn anything? So I feel like you have to like balance it out, use it as a tool instead of a replacement. So
Yeah, absolutely.
uh, yeah,
Yes.
like the question you should ask yourself is like, is this helping me understand, or is this helping me finish faster? Like, you have
Yeah.
to use it to your advantage, but don't let it take over
Take
your
over.
work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, when it comes to, for example, Islamic education, the Quran and everything, I feel like we should be very careful about the references, what we're, getting out. Yeah, because they can, of course, mix it up, and we might feel, oh, it seems very authentic. But again, it's better to always recheck. What I would actually like to put out, like if you're someone who's like into video editing, for example, maybe if you're a filmmaker, maybe you're into that video editing process, so because these kind of things take a lot of time, the post production bit. And so I feel like sometimes, yes, you can use these kind of apps. I've forgotten the app right now that is very good for video editing. I'll recheck it and say it in the next program. There are different kinds of apps that do different kinds of specific tasks, by the way. It's very interesting. And so life has become much easier in that sense, that if you want to make a quick documentary or video, if you're like on a site and these kind of things, so then these kind of AI things, tech tools really help you out. That's if you know how to use it very well and you've mastered it. Otherwise, it's going to take you forever to figure it out. However, it is again very important to have your original ideas and authenticity to it. For example, if you're a filmmaker, right, you want the storyline to be yours, you want your angles, your cinematography and all of that. So chat gpt and these kind of apps can add their own perspectives, which again brings a new version, a slightly different version to it, right? So these are again the things that one should look into. Okay, I'm just gonna wrap up the program. I'm coming towards the end now. I just want to ask if any of you would like to, share a final message with us. Perhaps if there is a book that you've read, if you want to share that with us, or if Salwa, you want to add a final message, and yeah, we will end it. So whoever wants to go first, I don't mind. Nishat, if you can just briefly touch up if you have a book review or something that you've read, can you share that with us? Something maybe.
Um, Considering this topic, there is a book that I could recommend. It's called AI Superpowers by Kai Fu Lee. And it doesn't just talk about AI as technology, it talks about people. So it talks about how AI could increase inequality if we're not careful, or and how like some people may benefit from it and others could get left behind. And like you can relate it to like how we have our Islamic values, because in Islam progress isn't just about advancement, it's about justice. So technology should uplift society instead of divide it. So that's like kind of what the book touches upon.
Okay, that's a
And
very good book. I would like to read that. If yeah,
yeah,
yeah, Salwa, go
sounds
ahead.
very
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, and I'd like to add the same thing, like from what you people were saying earlier, that I still very much think that education should still very much be prioritized. And just because we have AI now, education should not take a backseat in our lives, because AI is a helping tool. Um, it is not like a source of knowledge. Like it doesn't inherently give out knowledge the way that education does. And seeking out knowledge should always be our first priority. And AI should only be a helping tool for us if we are stuck or if we have any confusions. But in order to seek knowledge, we must still rely on our own senses and our own research.
Excellent. That was a beautiful summary of the entire conversation. And I do agree with you that we really need to balance it out. We have to stay ahead of our times and at the same time not forget our roots and our fundamentals. Book reading is a very good a tool. I feel we should continue book reading and at the same time adapt to different sources from the AI tech. Thank you very much for joining me on today's program, the both of you. I really enjoyed this discussion, and I hope that both of you did as well. And I hope that the viewers will also take a lot of good points from us. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you to all our viewers for joining on today's program. I'm sure that all of you would also have your own opinions on this conversation. Please do share it with us and do share this program with as many people as possible. Thank you very much. This is your host, Sakina Habib, signing off. Jazakumullahu khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.